Hey folks, so we are beginning our unit on mime today, and we're beginning with one of the most basic mime sequences. In fact, this one I would even call a stereotypical mime sequence. This one is known as the wall. And there are a bunch of different elements in this particular sequence that are the building blocks of other mime sequences that we will learn this semester. So right now I'm performing the entire wall sequence, including the flat wall, the top of the wall, the side of the wall, and the bottom of the wall. And then I'm going to go through each individual piece of this sequence step by step so that you will have an opportunity to see the breakdown that you can copy as you build your wall sequence. So the first sequence that we're going to go over is a basic flat wall. And this has got several different pieces that are going to be foundational to every other mime sequence. We're going to begin by finding neutral. Take that big breath in. Ensure that your alignment is correct before you begin, because here again, we don't want anything to come into the work that we are not specifically intending for our audience to pick up on. The first step to every mime sequence is to look at where your hand is going to go. The audience will follow your eyes. So this is a way to direct their focus to what you want them to be looking at. Magicians do this as well. Step one of every mime sequence is to look at where you're about to put your hand in space. The next step of any mime sequence is going to be to lift the hand. Notice that I am keeping my hand relaxed. This again is about not telegraphing anything to our audience that we are not specifically intending for them to pick up on. The next piece of a mime sequence is called present, and this is where I stretch my hand out, essentially showing my hand to the object that I'm about to quote-unquote touch. But really what I'm doing is further ensuring that my audience is looking where I want them to look. So by taking the time to stretch out my hand and show the audience my hand, I'm ensuring that they are looking at my hand. The last of our basic steps in a mime sequence is called take, and this is the point at which I actually touch the object that I am creating in the audience's imagination. It's important that my hand take the correct shape that represents the object that I am trying to create in my audience's imagination. Right now, we're just touching a flat wall, but this is going to become really important later on, so make sure you don't forget take. So these are the 4 steps that are going to begin a sequence: look, lift, present, and take. And then we have a couple more to add to end a sequence. They are release, which means to let go of the object that I am creating in space, followed by relax, which is exactly what it sounds like. Anytime my arm is in motion but I'm not touching an object, I'm going to keep my hand relaxed, so that way I'm not sending any signals to the audience that I'm not intending to send. And finally, I'll drop my hand back to my side to indicate that I have completed a sequence. Now let's look at the flat wall from the side. First step is to look, lift, then present, which is to stretch out the hand, then take, which is to touch the object, look, lift, present, and take. To complete the sequence, I'm going to look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, drop. Once again, the entire flat wall sequence from the front: look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take. Look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, and drop. Now let's work on the top corner peek over. In this sequence, we're creating the illusion the wall is short enough that if I grab onto it and stand on tiptoe, I can see over top of it. The first thing I'm going to do is from neutral, I'm going to open my toes out into a V shape. And what this is going to do is create stability so that when I come up to stand on tiptoe, on releve, I've got the stability necessary to balance up there. It's a good idea to practice doing some calf raises. And while you're up on your tiptoe, practice balancing on the knuckles of your second and third toes for stability. Also, you're going to want to make sure to get those heels all the way up off the ground with a nice arch through the foot. For this sequence, you are going to make the letter L with your hands by locking your second and third knuckles in place on your fingers and only bending the first knuckle where your fingers meet your palms. Do not form the letter C with your hands, but rather the letter L. We will use that C shape later on, but for this particular sequence, you want to form that hard angled L shape. So in the upper body, this sequence is going to begin first by looking at where my hand is going to go, then lifting the hand, presenting the hand, and then taking or touching the wall, again using that hard angled L shape. Repeat that on the other side. Look, lift, present, and take. You're then going to center your focus or look in the center of the imaginary wall that you're hanging onto. And here's the sequence from the side. In this angle, it's a little easier to tell that my hands are going to be at roughly the same level as my nose. That's going to be really important. Make sure your hands are not too high up in this sequence. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to peek over top of it. So make sure that your knuckles are at about the same level as your nose. After I have finished the peek over part where I come up and down off of tiptoe, I will complete the sequence by following the steps look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, and drop. The trick to this sequence is making sure that my hand is going down as my shoulders are coming up when my feet come off of the ground. So I'm actually dropping my elbows down as I'm bringing my heels up off of the ground. That is how this sequence is supposed to be completed. If I fail to do that, then it's going to look like the wall is moving up and down with me, which we don't want to see. We want to make sure that that hand is being pulled down as my feet are lifting my shoulders up. Again, drop that hand down as the feet lift the shoulders up. By doing this, we are creating the illusion of a fixed point in space. And I'm about to show you what exactly I mean by that. So we want the audience to believe that we're actually touching an object even though there's nothing there. So if I've got a fixed point in space, if I use this displacement technique to make sure that my hands stay at the exact same point in space even with the rest of my body moving, then I can create the illusion that there actually is an object in space that I'm touching. It lends to the believability of my mime sequences. So here we go again, starting from neutral. The sequence is look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take, adjust the feet and center the focus. Then I come up on releve as I drop the elbows. As I drop the feet, I'm going to lift the elbows, creating that illusion, then look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, and drop, and that puts me back at neutral. So now we're going to come to the edge of the wall and peek around the side of it. This sequence begins like all the others. First I look at where my hand is going to go, then lift, present, and take. I'm going to keep that hard angled L shape in my hands, except I'm holding my hands out to the side instead of up at eye level this time. I'm also going to make sure to keep my elbow tucked in close to my side. You don't want to straighten out your arm because you won't be able to step wide enough to see around an edge of a wall that is that far away from you. Looking a little closer at just the hands, I look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, and take. Here again, in order to create the illusion of that fixed point, I'm going to be pulling my arm in toward my body as I lean my body toward that imaginary wall edge. So you should be bending that arm and straightening that arm to create the illusion of that fixed point in space. If you're doing it properly, then you're going to make the audience believe there's an actual object that you're holding onto and leaning around. To help with that illusion, you're going to want your hands to be lined up vertically, both beside your body and in front of your body. So in two directions, you should make sure that your hands are right on top of each other. Remember, don't lock that elbow or you're going to destroy the illusion of the fixed point in space. So here we have the entire sequence. First, you're going to look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take. Then you're going to step out with the heel to the ground. And as you transfer your weight onto that foot, you're going to pull your hands across your body in the opposite direction, creating the illusion of that fixed point in space. To go back behind the wall, simply extend the arms as you transfer your weight back to the original standing leg. Then to complete the sequence, you are going to look at the hand that you want to move, release, relax, and drop. Look at the hand you want to move, release, relax, and drop. Here's the upper body in profile. Look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take. Then you're going to step out. Make sure to keep those hands lined up to create the illusion of that fixed point in space. I also want you to notice what's happening with my bottom hand there. As I bring it in front of my body, I'm actually flattening it out and then bending it again as I lean back into my starting position and extend my arms away from my body. This sequence can be done on either side, so if you are left side dominant, feel free to use the left side of your body instead of the right side of your body. The steps are going to be exactly the same. First, you're going to look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take, step, lean and pull, lean back and extend, look, release, relax, drop and bring the foot home, look, release, relax, and drop, and that should bring you back to neutral. And here's the entire sequence again on the right side. Are you ready for a challenge? Let's look underneath the wall. In this sequence, we're creating a fixed point in space, assuming that the wall actually has a gap underneath that we need to look under. From neutral, I'm going to open my toes out in a V, and I'm also going to step out wider than my hips. We're going to do something called a plie in this sequence, which means I'm going to bend my knees and bring my hips down below the level of my knees. I'm also going to keep my back as straight up and down as I can, and to the best of my ability, I'm going to avoid sticking my butt out to balance or to push myself in either direction. I'm a little bit out of practice here. What you don't don't want to do is bring the heels up off the ground like I'm doing right there, because it compromises your stability. Instead, as you come down into your plie, you want to keep the heels on the ground as much as humanly possible. What I don't want to see is you collapsing forward from the hips, and I don't want to see you out of control as you descend. So you may want to practice going up and down in your plie a couple of times just to develop that stability. It should come as no surprise that first we're going to look, lift, present, and take. We're still using that L shape. Look, lift, present, and take. Uncenter the focus. I don't mind telling you, this one is my most difficult one to create that fixed point in space. I did it 2 different times. Neither one was really great, but you should be able to see what a difference it makes when you keep your hands still versus when they're sort of flying all over the place. That was attempt number 1. It's not perfect in attempt number 2, but I do a better job of keeping my hands in approximately the same position, and the more you are able to do that, the better the illusion of that solid object is going to be for your audience. To complete the sequence, I look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, and drop. All together, our sequence is going to go look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take. I'm going to step out wider than my hips. As I plie, I'm using that displacement we learned in the other sequences, bringing my hands up above my head as I bring my body down into plie, and then doing the exact opposite to come out of that to create that illusion. Then I look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, drop, adjust my feet back to neutral. And one more time, I'm going to show you all of the different elements of the wall sequence combined into one continuous sequence. Beginning with the flat wall, look, lift, present, take, look, lift, present, take. Rather than dropping my hands, I'm going to move directly to the top of the wall. So I look, release, relax, look where it's going, lift, present, take. I always am going to look where my hand is going to go before I move it there. I'm telegraphing this information to the audience so that I control their focus. I know I skipped over the drop step when I transitioned from the flat wall to the top of the wall, but remember, we're only going to use the drop step to indicate that we are done with our performance. I'll continue here to look, release, relax, look, lift, present, take, and now I'm on top of the wall. I'll adjust my feet, center my focus, come up on releve, displace my hands, drop and displace, look, release, relax, and drop, look, release, relax. And now I'm going to look where my hand's going next, move, present, take, look, lift, present, take. I'm going to step, lean and displace, lean and displace. And notice as I look, release, relax, drop with both hands, I am simultaneously preparing for the bottom of the wall sequence. So I can add in that look, lift, present, take, or look, move, present, take in any order that I deem necessary to combine sequences into a cohesive performance. When I'm ready to end, I'll look, release, relax, drop, look, release, relax, drop, and come back to neutral, and that tells the audience that I have completed my performance.